Hey, this is Sally again, doing some more magic moments. And today I'm chatting with Hoe Bing, who's up in far north Queensland in Cairns. Hey, Hoe Bing, or I'm going to call you HB. Is that okay?
Absolutely. In fact, that's what everyone calls me. And if you call me Hoe Bing, then I'm probably going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I get it. I get the same Sally Ann, same stuff. Hey, that's a beautiful setting. Whoa, it looks really nice and warm and humid up there.
Yeah, over in far north Queensland, where, as they say, cheesy, but beautiful one day and perfect the next. If you're warm-blooded like me, this is the place to be.
Super jealous.
I did spend 15 years in Melbourne. That was good, but just a tad cold.
Yeah. Well, not lately. We've had a bit of a heat wave. It's been fantastic. Anyway, let me introduce you. So HB is an intuitive health doctor who helps young, time-poor, successful but near burnout professionals stop the burnout, prevent illness and take their health to the next level. Whoa, that sounds interesting. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how you got into all of this and your journey?
Oh, absolutely, Sally. Well, but first, I thought, it would be a nice thing to take everyone through the same journey because I believe we all start from the same place.
Yep.
And if you play along with me, it is a very simple story that starts off one morning. You wake up feeling like there is just some energy about you and that today is the day you're going to do something big, right? So you get dressed, and then put on your running shoes, you have your water bottle, and you head out the door. And as you're going and running, suddenly you feel that, it's getting really warm.
Yep.
And you're starting to perspire and sweat. Your legs are starting to hurt as you're taking each step. Feels like you're no longer just running, you're actually swimming in quicksand. And the harder you push, the more difficult it gets. And you get to a stage whereby you're almost at a standstill.
Yeah.
But you keep pushing on and you keep pushing on. And you get to a stage whereby eventually you come to this film, this sort of invisible barrier. And just beyond that barrier is something magical. And you want to go for it. So you start pounding on the barrier and you go, let me in, let me in, let me in. And for the first, what seems like eternity, nothing happens.
Yeah.
But slowly, a little crack opens up. And you push through and you push through. And as you push, finally you emerge. And then 9 months later, you're born. And this is how we start our hero's journey. Every one of us are selected out of the millions that we start off. So you're already a winner in life, right? And that is a great place to start because each one of us has such unique potential. And for my own personal journey, after the 9 months, and then I was born, we went through, grew up, went to university, did a whole bunch of stuff. And it was about 15 years ago, I noticed that, humans are actually very individual. And as I was going through and learning biomedical science, it was very clear then that our genome and our human makeup was more than meets the eye, right? Then about 10 years ago, when I started really practicing medicine, I noticed that, people were different. They interacted differently with medications. They responded differently to treatments. And then about 5 years ago, it really crystallized. I got to see that people have very fine-tuned receptors, if you like, inside their bodies, and they know what is good and bad for them. It's just that we've learned to override all of those basic instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And a year ago, as I started to then target people and then say, hey, why don't we just tweak this? Why don't we just change that? It became obvious that you could use your food as medicine, or your environment as a medicine, or your mind as medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I started on this journey to become an intuitive health coach, because I believe that everybody has their own intelligence, and that by tapping into that intelligence is how you regain health. Because you never really become diseased, you just lose your way to health. And all we have to do is tweak a little thing, and then we find it back.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's right, you sort of become derailed a little bit and you have to get back on track. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I love that. So, throughout this journey to coming to this place, you must have had a few challenges, hurdles along the way, because, not everyone gets what you're talking about. They haven't evolved to that level, if you like, or, so what have been some of the challenges as you've been on your discovery trail?
Well, Sally, I think, one of the One of the biggest challenges is that you don't trust yourself, right? It takes a very long time to get to a stage whereby you actually know that the wisdom you have comes through you, not from you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That doesn't matter what kind of belief system you have, whether it be religious or not, whether you believe in a Big Bang or the theory of singularity in physics, everything has to come from somewhere. And if we, humor ourselves for the meantime and say that everything comes from a particular source, then you're part of that and you have the knowledge and the wisdom that comes with that. So the biggest challenge for me was basically getting to the stage whereby I could explain things that people understood, and that to bring them to a place where they trusted their own bodies again. Because that was one of the greatest challenges that I faced myself, to actually go, is this wisdom real or am I just making it up? And is it really as powerful as I think it is? So it took a long time to build up and get to that stage. You know, what I do is basically like being a flight instructor, right? But instead of being a flight instructor whereby you have to study however gazillion hours with all of the knobs and dials inside a plane, I take the entire process and essentially simplify it so that it's like taking driving lessons and then get you there faster. So instead of this complicated array of stuff where one wrong tweak can crash a plane, we play it much safer, and we do it in a controlled environment whereby you have the ability to see what is happening. So yeah, a little bit of a segue, but the challenges that we constantly face, most of them stay within ourselves. Is the outside that tries and how would you say, not it's outside influences that we give into that help cloud our judgment. And I'm the same way. I'm susceptible to those as well.
What I love is explaining so that people get it, on the same level, and not talking too technical, too jargony, or too scientific, but on on a real level. Yeah, really engaged there. Yeah, awesome. So your niche is young, time poor, successful professionals, but are just about at burnout. So, what do you think is the issue facing these guys?
Well, I think the challenge for the successful professionals is that they are successful. Their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness, because they have gone through life and been able to perform and produce, and they may be exceptionally successful inside their job, but then their health can only go so far when you are interacting with the world that we are today. So there are a lot of aspects that we lose touch of, and a lot of things that we do not remember. And so I find that people often need to be reminded of just how powerful their bodies actually are and what it takes to bring that back. So those are one of the few things. But I think if we start there, then we can build on that sequentially as we go throughout.
Yeah. Just sort of stopping, pausing, and thinking and looking around. It's really important.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, cool. And now, so leading along those lines, what could you recommend could be 3 top tips to help these almost at burnout young, time poor professionals that are struggling with, their strengths, which is also their weakness?
Well, so professionals are very good, but all of them face some form of stress, and all of them have an ability to actually deal with it to a certain degree. But through doing that, as a top performer, you tend to isolate yourself. So through the stress, you become lonely, and through being lonely, you get disconnected. And the way to then get back to being calm, connected, and also charged back with energy is to go through a simple 3-step process. And the way that I conceptualize that is you go through a period of educating, and then after that you go through and synthesize the information, and then finally you create a plan that actually suits you. And by taking those 3 steps, we're able to get from a place of confusion, loss of connection, and lethargy to a place of calm, connectedness, and being again charged with life and ready to take on the challenges that are present. Hmm.
Yeah, awesome. You know, stress, it's affecting everybody, but particularly in that, you know, in
Mhm.
that niche that you're dealing with. And just to get to be calm and connected and get that energy back, you know, how awesome is that? I'm just feeling it, just imagining it. It's just, you know, everybody needs that. And I think, you know, working with your niche in particular, I think that's really, it's awesome what you're doing and getting them to stop and get them shifting into that space. It's brilliant.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. You know, to be the change maker in the world, you
yeah,
can't be tired. You can't be lethargic.
yeah,
You can't be can't lack energy. You need all of those things.
yeah,
And the sad part is that most people are trying to push through
yeah.
rather than to learn how to create a system that's actually going to pull them along and make it much easier.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like going downhill on a boogie board as opposed to being stuck.
yeah, yeah. Because you know, at the end of the day, it's going to catch up with you. You can only push for so long, and then
Yeah.
something's got to give. Absolutely, and you know, we all know that. But yeah, it's brilliant. So you know, with the work you're doing, what do you think at the end of the day you're most passionate about?
Hmm. Well, you know, I really love uh, seeing people light up, right? Once they understand the concept, is this, you know, this spark that reappears inside their life, and they rediscover something that they know has been lost for a long time.
Yep.
And to me, that is a way to actually unleashing your total health potential.
Mm-hmm.
And having potential, you know, I kind of liken it to driving a Ferrari, one of the world's fastest car, right? But you have a padlock that keeps it at second gear. So
Yeah.
you can't really access anything. Then my job is to help you unlock that padlock so that you can just floor it and then go head on, right? Take on all of the world. So then after that, we need defensive driving lessons to make sure you don't crash.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. It's interesting. Years and years ago, I went out to the Blue Mountains from Sydney, and I was in a Porsche, in my friend's Porsche, and I couldn't get it out of first gear. And I went pretty well. Like we went the whole way, which is a fair distance. But you know, coming back, I got it out of first gear, and it was so much better the ride. So I get what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, HP, if people want to get in touch with you, where can, if they want to find out further about what you're doing or where you're at, you give us a website or something, where's the best place to send people?
Well, I think at the moment there is a period of uncertainty. So what I like to do best is that if you are serious about taking your health to the next level and you feel that I might have something to offer,
Mm-hmm.
just give me a call. You know, my number is 0401 674 That's Australia. If you happen to be somewhere else in the world, please make sure you check the time zone. But otherwise, it's all good.
Man, I think your phone's going to go off the wall. Man, brilliant. HP, thank you very much for spending the time today chatting with me and informing me about what you're doing. And it's brilliant and it's absolutely necessary. You know, it is a crazy, chaotic, very fast-paced world, and you know, we want to get to people before they get to that burnout stage and you know put the brakes on. It's really really important and critical. You know, it's all about preventing illness down the track and getting on top of ourselves now and creating a better version of ourselves as we go along. I think it's just brilliant, and particularly the niche that you're working in, because I know the niche that you're talking about, the ones that I know, put so much pressure on themselves. And as you say, they become insular and shut down a little bit and just try to cope in their own little world. And it's
Mhm.
horrifying. You're reaching out an arm there. It's brilliant, just brilliant. So
Absolutely.
thanks again for spending time with us. And I'm very jelly about where you're living. It just looks so beautiful and love warmth and heat and you know, nurturing for my soul. I think it's great. So yeah, thanks again for having a chat. And I look forward to catching up with you down the track. See you later, babe.
Totally. Thank you, Sally.
See you.
Appreciate your time.